Samurai 8, Chapter 3, Cut the Cake Tank. It's kind of a spoiler in the title, but another fun chapter this week. I'm really enjoying this series. I'm liking how it's developing, and I really did have like an audible hell yeah moment in this chapter. But other than that, let's get into it. So we're opening up the chapter with seeing two guys reacting to the aftermath of the attack of the pigs on Akagi Castle. That's the castle that we're at right now. And these two guys, I'm assuming, are samurai. They look like samurai, and they have holders. So I guess they are samurai, although it's not entirely confirmed in this chapter. I'm also kind of getting confused with the names and the titles of characters in this series, because it's like, sometimes they call people warriors, sometimes they call them samurai, and now we're getting this new title of key samurai. So either this new title was invented for disambiguation, or there is a specific difference between samurais and key samurais, but I'll get more into that when we get to that part. Other than that, we're getting more information on how the weapons of this world works, more specifically the katanas, and I'm not sure if this is how every katana is, but definitely the two we're seeing in this chapter. So they just have ID authenticators on them, just like our cell phones, or those of you who have phones that have the thumb ID on them that opens them up. Pretty much the same principle here. Also very similar to Judge Dredd's weapon. If you guys are familiar with that movie Dredd, very underrated. Pretty good, check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, Judge Dredd's gun and all of the, I forget what they're called, the judges, I suppose, in that world, all of their guns have ID authenticators on them. So that's kind of cool. I mean, why not? This world has all kind of crazy technology, so hey, built it into your weapons as well, especially for like a safety measure. But on top of that, we're getting a name for Nameless, which is Nameless, or Nanashi. I like this name. Very fitting, kind of like a unisex name, which Nanashi is. Not really too sure still what Nanashi is exactly, gender-wise. I know it's not really cool to be talking about this because it's a slippery slope, but I remember in the previous chapter, the Nanashi's hands, pretty much Nanashi themselves was saying that they have the body of a boy but the soul of a girl. So I guess this means technically Nanashi is a boy, but I guess they could be gender fluid for all we know. It's not really made too clear, and I kind of like that. It's different. We don't really get too many characters like this, especially main characters in shonen series like battle manga specifically too, so I'm on board with it. I like it. So now let's get back into the key samurai stuff, because when we see the two recruits or the trainees or the students, whatever these two kids are, they run up to Hachimaru. They're like, oh hey, it's a key samurai, he's even got a key holder. That's pretty cool. So I was saying, like, is key samurai the new title for the samurais? Is this just what they are called, and Kishimoto has decided to change it because maybe he got some notes, or maybe he just found that it was a better way to call them key samurais as opposed to just samurais, I don't know, to not confuse people maybe? I'm not sure. I would really like to know, but maybe key samurai is a way to distinguish the important samurais from regular samurais, because we know that there's not just, or at least it's implied that there's not just 7 samurais out there, because like the whole 7 keys you need to open Pandora's box, and we know that the keys are the spines inside of the samurais, which are pretty much the samurais themselves. So I assume this could be just differentiating a key samurai from a regular samurai. But that also begs the question of, how do these kids know that he is specifically a key samurai? Like, what is distinguishing about him from the other samurais? But also, let's get into the other samurais, because he says, oh, hey, it's just like senseis. So the sensei that he's talking about here, I'm assuming is one of the two guys that we saw in the first page. And, in the beginning, the guys that introduced us to ID authentication on the katanas. But he also specifically says that, oh, it's just like Sensei's, talking about Hayataro here. It's just like Sensei's holder, but yours is a wolf. Or whatever he says, wolf dog. So if we go back to the first page, we see the two holders that these samurais have. One is like a boar-looking one, like a big pig with tusks, kind of. And then the other one looks wolf-esque too. Not really. I guess it's like a wolf. It's like, it's dark and kind of looks like Hayataro, but just like an evil version of him, kind of. So I assume he must be talking about the guy with the boar. He must be the sensei that he's talking about here. But also, he doesn't really say if it's just a regular holder or whatever. You know, like I'm saying, it's kind of confusing, but I guess we're just going to have to go along with it until we get more information on this stuff. So after that, it cuts to Nanashi, who has kind of been distant after this point. Like, once they saw Hachimaru getting attention from those two students, they kind of just drifted away and was like, you know what, yeah, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I couldn't be his friend because of the way that I am and whatnot. But then, of course, they're having this internal conflict with, like, well, you want to be friends with him, you're interested in him, and I don't know what to do, and, you know, the classic angsty stuff. But an interesting thing here is the place that Nanashi goes to have this internal conflict is like a shrine. And I assume the shrine is just a part of the Akagi castle that they're at. But the 3 statues, or should I say 4 statues that we see here, are of the gods, or the warrior gods, whatever you want to call them, that we actually saw in the very first chapter, like in the first couple pages that were colored. So the one in the middle, that's a Kala, like the one above all, I'm assuming, in this world, or Fudo Mio. And then the 2 on his left, I'm not sure who they are. I assume the one on the right that looks like a woman is Yasha, the one that we find out about or hear about in chapter 1, who is assumed to be the master of Daruma. Not too clear about that yet, but I'm pretty sure that's how this is working out. So this dynamic we're seeing right here in this statues. Oh, and also the one below him looks like a holder, so maybe that's like the holder of a Kala, maybe. But the dynamic here, I'm thinking, is similar to what Kishimoto set up in Naruto with Hagoromo, Atsutsuki, and then how he had Indra and Ashura with him. So it's kind of like that, I'm assuming. So then we see Hachimaru mistakenly pick up Nanashi's katana, trying to defend everyone from the cannon fire, but it's not working out because we've already established that these katanas have ID authenticators on them, so it's not going to work out. But we get a cool little moment from Hayataro here, and we're seeing, you know, more of what holders can do, or key holders at this point. Because he makes like a big shield deflecting from one of the tank rounds fired at them. It does do a lot of damage. You can see that it is like taking a toll on Hayataro here, but still successfully was able to dodge it, and just, you know, like further cool stuff from holders. And Hayataro, I mean, just really likable at this point. If you don't like Hayataro, I don't know what to tell you. Pretty much designed to be a likable character and like an overall like faithful companion. Hayataro can even smell that it was the same gunpowder used in the tank projectile that shot them down in the previous chapter. So that's kind of cool. There's more to Hayataro than just simply transforming and being a utility weapon or just items to Hachimaru. He can also smell and deduct stuff like that. So I'm sure that's going to come back later, like the sensory aspect of Hayataro is going to help Hachimaru further along in this series. But also that just confirms that they were in fact shot down by the pigs in the previous chapter. Like I said in the previous review, it wasn't really made too clear if they were doing it. It was just implied that they were, since they were the ones firing off. So as Hachimaru is cornered, pretty much trying to defend everyone from this tank fire, we get this cool little sequence that you might miss if you're not really looking for it. But, you know, as we saw, Hachimaru can't draw the sword because of the ID authenticator. So he uses his inherent samurai abilities, and like his arm opens up and like a blade comes out of it. We saw the nameless gang leader from the first chapter do this with his arm. So that's kind of cool. It just seems like all samurais are capable of doing this. It's not like unique to just one dude. But unfortunately, you know, this isn't strong enough to just stop like fully stop the tank bullet, and it just takes Hachimaru's arm off. But, you know, we knew that this isn't really a big deal. The samurai arms can reattach and mold back together and whatnot. So, you know, it's not too bad that this happened, but still pretty cool that he's capable of doing it. And we also saw, like, Hayataro trying to put up, like, another barrier to protect him, but even that seems to be at its limit because it's just starting to crumble. So, you know, Hachimaru, Hayataro, they are pretty powerful for samurais, but just taking tank fire to the face without really protecting yourself, other than just, putting up a barrier and whatnot. Still not that powerful, but I'm sure they will get there. They are new samurai after all. So while this is all going down, Nanashi is having like an existential crisis, a real big internal struggle. Will she help him, or will he help him? Will he not, and whatnot? But then Nanashi is inspired by one of the quotes that Hachimaru said in chapter 2. The one that was basically like, a man who never draws a sword will never understand how it feels to cut, or will never know how sharp it is. There's multiple translations to this, but that's like the final straw. And as the final cannonball, or the tank whatever bullet is coming in, Nanashi steps in at the last second, touches the hilt of the katana to activate the ID sensor, allowing Hachimaru to draw it, and instantly cuts that in half. And then we get the awesome panel of Hachimaru and Nanashi both holding the sword together as they swipe it up in the air, cutting the tank missile in half. And this was that moment where I was like, oh hell yeah, because this just looks so awesome. I love that just they're working together to get this done. And also after this, after the cool panel with both of them swiping the sword up, we see, I think for the first time, Nanashi's eye and most of Nanashi's face in this instance. So that's pretty cool. Some development there. I mean, just simply showing more of this character's face and appearance. So then we go to the other dope moment of this chapter, and this is just illustrated so great. When Hachimaru, and with the assistance of Nanashi, is just straight up cutting the tank in half. Like I said, this looks so great, very well done, real intricate. And like I was saying in the first chapter review, this is like a mixture of Oda and Kishimoto. It just has a real cool, comforting almost style to it. But pretty cool because he's not only cutting this tank in half, but he's also somehow cutting the Pig Boss leader's armor off perfectly, and his helmet just right in half, but somehow not cutting him at the same time. And also, to my surprise, this guy and his boys, they're not actually pigs. I thought they were some kind of pig creature human species, but apparently it's just the aesthetic of the armor. Also the way that he was saying oink, with the rest of his dialogue, so it just led me to believe that he was some kind of pig creature. But nope, just a human that likes pigs, I guess. So then we come to the final moments of Hachimaru and Nanashi, and I really didn't expect this story to go in this direction. I'm really surprised by this. But more or less, it's just setting up that Nanashi doesn't want to go with Hachimaru, doesn't want to go on his adventures, kind of wants to stay back, develop themselves, but also, in a way, is revealing that she likes, or he likes, Hachimaru, in an intimate way. Because he says, next time, I would like to cut cakes with you instead of tanks. But also, before that, she's saying, I don't want to be friends with you. So, I guess this is establishing that, he wants to marry Hachimaru because, cutting the cake, that's wedding stuff, and doesn't want to just be friends, wants to be more than that. So does this I don't know. I'm fine with it. I think it's cool, but does this mean that there's going to be I don't know, same-sex relationship at the end of this series? I don't know. If it happens, like I said, I'm on board with it. I'm not bothered by it at all. I think it's kind of cool. It's different. But, then again, we don't exactly know what Nanashi is, so maybe it turns out that she's a girl. Maybe not. It's fine. But also, it's adding a different dynamic, aside from all of that, because, I think this is establishing that Nanashi is going to be the rival of Hachimaru, or at least at this point in the series, but also a love interest, which is kind of different. So we've got, a rival, but also a love interest at the same time. So I think that certainly changes things, makes them different. It's just that I thought Nanashi was probably going to stick around and just be, the companion to Hachimaru, the Kahlua to his Gon. That they were going to give the locker ball that they got in the first chapter from the nameless samurai gang leader, that locker ball, I thought they were going to use that on Nanashi and make her a samurai, and they were just going to be this powerful samurai duo, but that is not the case, or at least not right now. Maybe it'll happen later. But it is certainly not happening right now. And the way that they left things, it doesn't seem like they're going to be coming back to Nanashi for a while. But aside from that, let's get into the final part of this chapter, which is very exciting. Certainly setting up a future storyline in this series, and that is, who the hell is Hachimaru's dad and what is he up to? Because Daruma raises a good question. He's like, so why were you holding that soul inside of Hachimaru, and why are you so comfortable with everything? And like, because as soon as Daruma like extended the soul blade, the samurai soul, the blade that is called the vampire, pretty damn cool by the way, Hachimaru's dad doesn't flinch. And we have to remember that back in chapter 1, when the gang dudes, when they had a hold of him, he wasn't really like, flinching at that time either. He kind of was calm, I guess. I mean, not what you would really expect of like a typical civilian, which is what we're led to believe that he is, but that is not the case. So after that, Daruma's like, there's something going on with you. Who are you exactly? And that is a good question, like I said. But then he's like, that child, Hachimaru, I've never met a child with as much affinity as he has. So it's like, who or what is Hachimaru? So great question here. It appears that there is more to Hachimaru than just simply being a sick kid. It seems like this sickness that he has maybe is something to do with what his dad is doing, or maybe what his real dad is doing, because that's another thing. Because like this guy that we know as Hachimaru's dad, it's very possible that he's not actually his biological father. It's possible that he's just some dude that found Hachimaru and is raising him just because of crazy shonen plot lines. I think that might actually be the case. I'm thinking that Hachimaru's real dad is, I don't know, somebody important, or maybe he doesn't even have a dad. Maybe he was just developed. Maybe he was created, so he doesn't really technically have parents, because, like, another question, where's the mom? Because that's usually another thing with all these shonen protagonists. It's like, either one or the other's missing. Usually the dad is missing, but in this case, he has the dad, but he doesn't have the mom. So that's fishy. What's going on there? There's clearly more to all of this that we don't know yet. The big question of, why did Hachimaru's dad put the soul in there? Is it because Hachimaru was developed specifically to be a vessel for the soul, the samurai soul? Is that why he's there? Or, oh man, so many questions. I could just keep rambling on and on. But let me know what you think in the comments. Where do you think this is headed? Who is Hachimaru's dad? Why did he put the soul in Hachimaru? Is Hachimaru just a vessel? Is he a real person? Let me know. And if you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. Gives you access to a weekly Q&A video that I do on this channel every week. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.